I'm Drew Breezy, and this is the Comm Center. Coming up, a palate cleanse from our previous 8-part series. We're headed to a tiny town in Alaska, south of the North Pole. I'm going to spring a 911 call on John, and he's going to be hearing it for the first time, just like you. We're going to get his authentic professional analysis, and I'll give mine as we watch the situation unfold with a good old-fashioned dash cam. Even the most productive elf in Santa's workshop has nothing on John's prowess in his 911 laboratory. You're about to see all that and what it means for your weekend on the Comm Center.
The soul trooper on scene shot at Thomas 3 times.
Fucking cop just shot him right in the back.
like a yellow-bellied coward.
All right, wake up, America. It's the Comm Center with Drew Breezy. It's a TV show on the internet about 2 best friends who are hired by the Vatican to rid the city-state of vampires. The 2 stack up a sizable count of the undead before the request is clarified to rhetorical vampires. I'm joined, as always, by my partner, my podcasting partner with police benefits, the true blue friend, Drew Breezy. Drew, how the hell are you doing today? Are you coming to me live from 1998?
Yes,
What's going on with you?
I seem to be trapped in a VCR. I'm trying to fix all of this as we.
You're like in a movie with Matthew Broderick right now. What's going on with you?
Yeah, I feel like I should be talking like this. You see, I'm almost like in a talkie. It seems like, but no, I'm. How's that? I adjusted it a little bit.
There you go. You finally have escaped from Tron, and you can go back to the life that you were meant to live. Folks, I'm John. I'm an active 911 dispatcher in the field. I've been doing that for well over 9 years. Drew Breezy's your host. He's trying to figure out his VCR right now. He's switching between channels 3 and 4. Which one is better? Only a detective can figure it out.
Yeah.
We just did finish an 8-part series on Hannah Payne. Just wanted to let you know we will never do that again. So if you like that, if you enjoyed it, just one and done. That's just one of the perks of membership that you'll be able to get going forward, or in our long form podcast. But here on YouTube, I think what we saw is that people were getting a little worn out, even though we had excellent discussion and we changed people's minds on it. That maybe that was just a little bit too long form for YouTube. I wanted to discuss a few exciting, thrilling, annoying changes coming to the show. Nobody likes change. That's why we keep doing it, to frustrate and annoy people as much as possible. So if you are a fan of the Comm Center, thank you. First of all, we appreciate you hitting like and subscribe on the old YouTube channel, keeping up with the Comm Center and doing everything that you need to do by doing that. And also, if you're listening on Spotify and iTunes, doing that as well. But if you are a full-time member of the Comm Center, the changes that are coming, what you're basically going to see is nothing if you're a member. If you are someone that just likes us enough to follow, if you're just someone that just subscribes, what you're going to see is kind of a change in schedule. The show is going to drop on Tuesday rather than Thursday. It's just a perk that we're giving to our paid subscribers so you get early access to the content. So if you're someone that just likes us and doesn't love us, like Lieutenant Dish in my high school production of MASH, that's the only change really that you're going to see. You can also follow us on Rumble. If you like YouTube, but not that much, if you want to go to the green version where there's no membership stuff really involved, Rumble's another place you could find us. Apple Podcasts. As I mentioned, leave a 5-star rating and review. We always appreciate that. This is a podcast in addition to a YouTube show. So we're trying to keep a feet in both worlds. The way that you can keep us in the podcasting world is with a 5-star rating and review. Spotify, as always, just stop whatever you're doing. I don't care if you're driving the car, just look away from the windshield, look down at your phone, find a way to navigate to where you can leave a 5-star rating. On Instagram, you can find us at the Comm Center. You can also find Drew at What Say Drew. I'm in the process of changing my handle on Instagram. Drew, I don't know if you know this, but it actually takes 2 full weeks to do that. So I'm transitioning, everyone. I'm transitioning as I change my YouTube handle. The difficult to look at pictures is just too difficult for people to type out. So it will be retired here before too long.
I suggested that you do at slightly less than difficult to look at pictures. To see
Easier to look at pictures also was something that was suggested. You could also find us on X at Com Center Pod if you wanted to do that. Facebook, we've still got a group where you can go and find us, I guess, on Facebook. And also, just as a reminder, we're still permanently banned from TikTok. That's correct. Still banned from there. And there was one more thing. Oh, yeah. If you want to leave us a voicemail, call 848-COM-911. That's 848-266-6911.
Nice.
We've got a couple of voicemails to show you at the end of the show, all related to Hannah Payne. So if you thought you were done with Hannah Payne, we're bringing you right back in. But before we get to that, I wanted to talk about Amanda Nenegar versus who is the other lady? Sarah Boone.
Sarah
For it all,
Boone.
Drew. Who do you think takes it all in a no holds barred MMA style fisticuffs lawyers allowed contest?
Okay, well, I think if it's that triad of and it's a winner take all, Amanda's not going to make it to the fight, unfortunately.
She can't even get there.
Very unfortunately.
Too soon.
So that way too soon. So that leaves the two, and I believe just on the face that what's her name?
Sarah Boone.
No. Hannah Payne could probably whip Sarah Boone's ass, like just on the face, let alone if she's armed. Okay, because the method of murder for Sarah Boone is a suitcase, so she's going to have to somehow trick Hannah into playing a game of hide and seek, and Hannah's going to have to willfully get into the suitcase to hide. And it's going to have to be zipped all the way up, and it's going to take several hours for her to die. So I think in the triad, in the three, it's probably going to come, we'll keep with the Olympics theme, bronze medal to God rest her soul, Amanda Nenegar, and a silver medal to Sarah Boone, who, by the way, just went through another court hearing the other day, did not understand why she had to be bothered to be in the courtroom, and the judge had to explain to her, look, you're your own attorney now. So any hearing I have, you have to be a part of. I'm just trying to keep you in the loop. You're your own attorney. She's that's going to be a special trial. And then of course
it'll be a special 18-part series just because of the way Sarah Boone is.
Yeah. And then just coming out on top in the gold medal is the gold medalist would be Hannah Payne, who I'm still arguing with people in the comments who refuse to believe anything but her guilt. And I still say I was infuriated as recently as last night. How can you say that she was sticking her nose in somebody else's business when the state used nothing but 3 witnesses who were sticking their noses in somebody else's business? I don't understand how that works. It's good for one, but it's not good for the other, apparently. And I don't think she should be in prison, to be honest. I think that she maybe should pay the penalty for that gun going off since she introduced it. But enough about Hannah Payne, right?
Yeah, it's hard because I could still talk about this. I still think it's intellectually interesting, but I also haven't made an episode of Com Center in about a month. That's why I'm ready to come back and talk to it. The audience, of course, is like, "Oh my God, I've been hearing about this since like May. I'm tired of hearing about this." But
well, we did 2 solid months. All of it was May, wasn't it? So 1 weekend in May, all of June, and most of July, we spoke about Hannah Payne.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
I guess now we have to retire that. But speaking of retirement, how have you been in general to our fans who are paying extra to hear how you are? How are you, Drew?
I'm doing great. We're perking right along, as my analyst would say. Listen, are we? If I heard you right, and I want to make sure that I had this straight, I'm pretty sure that I do, but we're recording this, right? This, like, if you're a member, you will be in the chats with us as we release this on a Thursday night. It will subsequently be released as a audio only podcast on the same night,
Thursday night.
So the following Tuesday, for those who chose other than being a member,
right,
they will see a version of this. It's still not going to be the full version with all of this lively banter and the.
But you're not going to miss this part, though.
Okay, all right. So it'll just be at the towards the end or something, right?
Right. So what's coming out on Tuesday? It will the show will start. It'll be like, "Hi, I'm Drew Breezy. Get a load of this," and then there's a very short, like the theme is just going to say "Comm Center," and it's like going to be a punch sound effect, and then it's going to go straight to John. Let's look at that 911, and then I'll just be doing it, and so. The banter, the human parts of the podcast are kind of what our fans love the most. So we did that because we realized the people that pay for the show are the ones that love you and me personally, Drew.
Yes.
And the people that are out there in algorithm land, the people that are just scrolling through things, that are just searching for stuff,
They
don't know who the hell you and I are. They don't care that you and I are the best friends on earth. They do not give a fuck. And they don't want to wait 20, 30 minutes for us to get to the point. So the version we're putting out on Tuesday is for the people who are just coming across Comm Center for the first time, who are just going to see, what is the show about? It's a 911 dispatcher and a police detective. That's what it is. That's what the show is. And so we're making a distilled version for them that is friendlier for the newcomer. And then the newcomer will be, given a taste of the sweet Comm Center crack, and then they become a member, and then that's when they get the full version. So it's really about, it has nothing to do with shortchanging members or shortchanging people who just love us like Will Cray. It has to do with capturing that new market of people we want to bring to the show. So if you love us enough that you're already paying for the show, there will be no changes for you. So no changes.
Yeah, I mean, slightly. I think that we need to discuss just a little bit further, because the point of Tuesday would be we're going to try to pull people in, but we're also going to truncate the show so that we retain longer, because longer retention means better push. And if we don't have an hour and a half show, if we only have a 48-minute show or 36 minutes, so we're still going to have elements of us being us. But it's going to be meat based. In other words, it'll be
no more bread.
It won't be as much bread in the sandwich.
It'll be a very low carb diet is what you'll be getting on Tuesday.
Right. And if you can't afford to be a member on YouTube, we get it. That's fine. You're just going to have to get the full sandwich on the podcast, on the audio.
Yeah, the audio podcast, which we've always. That one's never going away. I slave all week to make sure that happens for you, and I actually try harder now than ever to make sure I put extra sound in it, just to make it even better. So, if you are someone that loves the Comm Center, but you're living in a Biden inflation economy, the changes are coming, but they're not ultimately not going to deprive you of anything. Also, I am on 99 shows a week. And Drew and I are still going live all the time. If you're following him at What Say Drew, it's like, we're always with you, man. So don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, don't worry about it too much. And if you use us for slumber, like I have a Bluetooth blindfold headset that with flat ear speakers, so that I can lay on my side if I need to. And I turn on a podcast, not necessarily ours, because I'm familiar with ours. So I try to broaden my horizons. And I listen to the first 9 minutes or 7 minutes of a podcast every night as I'm drifting off to sleep. My timer is set to shut the thing off like an hour and 47 into it. So my subconscious brain probably takes in most of the podcast, but I'm out by 7 minutes tops.
Okay. I can only fall asleep if someone puts a pillowcase over me, duct tapes my wrist behind my back, and then screams at me in a foreign language. So, I mean, we all have our different ways of relaxing, I guess. With that said, with all the news out of the way, also, just if you're a subscriber, you're also getting all the 911 news on Monday. So we used to kind of open the show with what's going on in the news, but I'm talking about that on Monday. So we already did that on Monday. We still got the after show that's free and open and available for everyone. The after show, not changing. That's for anyone to interact with me. So no worries there. Drew, why don't we just go ahead and I'll make a little mark that it's 14 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's go straight to the 911.
Let's do that. 911, John. This one comes to us from small town Alaska, as I said in the opening, that you may or may not have heard. And I want to show this photo here. I see that you're peeking around the corner. This is a photo of the place where this happened. You'll notice it's like a liquor store / mini mart. They sell ice and beer, and And then there's 2 like outbuildings in the back. We're talking about Alaska. So a lot of sunlight at certain times of the year, a lot of moonlight at other times. And then, but it just seems that they combine a lot of things. So this is a mini mart / hotel. I wanted you to get a lay of the land, so to speak. These 2 outbuildings in the back are where we're going to be focused on. You'll see what I mean in a minute, though. So, John, I'm going to play this 911 call for you. This will be the first time you're hearing it. I have reviewed the incident, so it's not as shocking to anybody else, but we'll just we'll play it and then we'll get your reaction. There are actually a few 911 calls in here. This was taken well, we'll see in a second. This that was the center of the United States, the geographical center of the United States of America, and I'm trying to show, relatively speaking, where we are in Alaska. So there's Fairbanks, there's North Pole, there's Moose Creek. I had a relative that lived in Moose Creek for a while. This is where we're talking about, though. We're talking about Tok, T-O-K, not talk like TikTok. It's spelled the same. But this presentation was found on the Alaska Department of Public Safety's public information website. They publish all of their critical incidents there. And that's where I got this information from. I didn't alter anything that they had on there. I just, kind of added our flair for our reaction, basically. So here we go. Here are the 911 calls.
Hello, I'm Captain Tony Wegson, Commander of the Alaska Bureau of Investigation. At 2:35 a.m. on October 30th, 2023, the Alaska State Trooper Dispatch Center in Fairbanks, Alaska, received a 911 call from an adult male inside of a motel room in Tok.
Alaska State Trooper City with the transfer for Tok. Okay.
All right off the bat, John, somebody called Fairbanks PD, and Fairbanks had to transfer it. Is that common in your industry?
Yeah, it looks like somebody called the Highway Patrol. Looks like a state agency is just transferring it to a local 911 PSAP for dispatching the city police. Very common.
All right, Alaska State Troopers.
It was vice versa.
Vice versa, okay.
Someone at the front of my hotel room.
Okay, here's the other thing too. I tried to not alter the audio. In other words, pump the volume up. And I was thinking this guy's driving me nuts because he speaks so low. I want you all to experience what John has to experience as a 911 operator. And you're trying to give very vital information, and this guy's like kind of whispering. So
Won't leave.
Okay, someone at the front of your hotel room.
Yeah, he was drunk. Yeah, he was saying he's gonna break the door down, so I need it like ASAP.
Do you know who he is?
Yep. Can you keep it anonymous?
Did you say you know who he is?
Yes, and can you keep the report anonymous?
Yeah. So who is he?
Timothy Jr.
John, feel free to raise your hand at any point and I'll stop it. But what do we got so far?
I guess I would want to know, what is it that makes you think that he's intoxicated? He indicated some belligerent activity, that he's trying to break down the door. I don't hear any of that in the background. Normally when a drunk person's at a motel, you're going to hear banging on the door. You're going to hear yelling. Those walls are paper thin. This guy's speaking fairly quietly, so it's not like he's trying to overcome any noise. He doesn't seem very excited. The idea that he's going to try to keep this report anonymous is somewhat laughable. Police are going to come to the scene and they're going to talk to him. I think the dispatcher is smart enough to know that, well, I'm not going to go through this explaining to you why it's not going to be kept confidential. But confidentiality is often tied to also knowing who the suspect is. And she asks him, do you know who this person is? It usually goes hand in hand with confidentiality. They don't want reprisal from the person they know. But I would be asking mostly, how do you know he's intoxicated? Did you see him drinking, or is he stumbling around? Is he slurring his speech? What are the indicators you have? I'm trying to gather background context for what's happening. Drew, go ahead.
What would be some of the other reasons, though, that you would want to know if he knew who the guy was?
Well, what's the reason why he's trying to get into the apartment? That could open up a whole host of questions about why these two might be interacting, why this interaction might be belligerent. This could be a domestic situation of some kind. The other guy could, they might both be supposed to be in that room. Maybe they're having some sort of fallout, and party on the phone wants the second party to be taken away by police. Could be a civil dispute, could be an actual criminal problem of some kind. But trying to figure out the relationship between the two is pretty critical.
And the name. What would you do with the name?
I didn't hear what the name was, but I would be looking up to see if he's got any warrants, things like that, to see if we have any history. It's always going to be difficult, particularly if I'm dispatching for the Alaska State Troopers and we're talking at a small town called Tok. Whether or not I have any address history at this motel, the name card's going to be a lot more helpful to know whether or not I've got any history with him and if he's got any wants or warrants in the state of Alaska.
All right, I'm going to continue.
Okay. And what hotel are you at?
What the heck is it called? Yo, what's this place called? What's this place called? Three Bears Motel Mini Mart.
Who's he talking to?
Okay, what room?
Thank you for saying that, John. So what's the significance of him asking somebody else?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to express frustration that people never know where the hell they are. I understand that he's not going to know the address of this place, but usually there's a card in the room. If this was an emergency, if we had CPR in progress or something, I would be asking him to look for that card or to say the name of it. But he is speaking to someone else in the room that heretofore I had no idea they were there. They haven't been speaking before. What's that person? How are they involved? And now that we know that there's at least two people involved, how many more people are involved? If we've got a potential burglary in progress, and we also don't know if there's any weapons or anything like that with an intoxicated subject, do we have kids at risk? How many people are in there? These are questions that I would also start asking, Drew.
If you were to do some type of study, would you say, how can I word this? There's a motel. First of all, there's a difference between a hotel and a motel. Hopefully we all know that. The motel is a motor
lodge. It doesn't have any interior hallway. You walk out your door into the parking lot. Yeah.
And hotel is like a house tel, which means it's like a house. All the doors are the interior. So this one is a motel. You could see right here on their Facebook page that all the exterior doors face each other. They're all on the outside. Obviously, they're exterior doors. But it's situated right behind the Three Bears liquor or whatever it's called. It's all part of the mini mart, the Three Bears mini mart. It's all part of a group of properties. And I'm thinking small town Alaska, it's probably
single proprietor.
Yeah, and everything is clustered, right? So like you probably go for miles and miles without seeing anything, and then you'll see like a pub and there may not even be a restaurant in the town, but then there's like a mini mart and a motel right behind it. And my guess is
same thing where I live. The flags are just different. That's all.
The weather's a little different probably too, but my guess is that the mosquitoes are smaller. My guess is that when people stay at a place like this, they're within walking distance, literally a couple hundred yards at the most of beer, ice, and liquor. It gets pretty free flow in there because you're not driving anywhere. And you're probably, when you know that you're in the comfort of your own room and you're staying somewhere for the night or doing whatever, the party's going to flow. That's my guess. So if you were to do some kind of academic study, I would say that if there's a motel behind a liquor store, people are drunker on average than they are anywhere else. Now, we know also that we got multiple people in the room because at least one other person in the room. And what's this one other person's relationship to the guy that's knocking on the door too? So we got other things to think about.
110.
You said 110?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And
I
what's your
also just
telephone
thought of
number?
something salacious.
Go for it.
What if the caller and the person in the hotel room with him aren't supposed to be in the hotel room?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Maybe that's why he's beating on the door.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe that's why he's calling so the guy will leave and he can leave. Because there's one way out.
Yep.
This one.
Okay, what is it?
Redacted.
And is he staying there with you, or how do you know him?
He just like showed up. He's a friend. Just like knew we were here. We spent like grapevine, and we were sleeping, and we heard banging on the door.
Oh, he heard through somebody else that you guys were there, so he just showed up.
Yep, and with a bottle of alcohol and blacked out.
Aha.
Aha. So they heard it through the grapevine, and he knows that he's like, there's a lot of alcohol, and he's blacked out.
I like that the dispatcher's not she's not being judgmental or anything. We're like, we understand these things happen. We really just need to deal with the situation at hand. When it comes to the drama of your own personal life, I've heard it all. So I'm not impressed by this. Obviously, we need to just get some units rolling. It would be helpful to know if he does have a weapon, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's in a gray sweater.
Okay. Is he threatening anything?
To break down the door.
Okay. Do you know his last name?
Thomas.
Do you know how he got there?
He walked.
He walked. Okay.
That's important to know.
It's important to know why, John.
Well, number one, if he's intoxicated, truly, you don't want him leaving the scene and behind the wheel of a car because he could pose a hazard to others. It's also important to know that he walked because he possibly lives nearby in the area. It's also important to know that if he does decide to leave the scene, that police officers are going to be able to catch up with him fairly quickly as long as we have a basic description of him and a known direction of travel. So in terms of just other people being in danger, the car is a pretty important part. Also, if he doesn't have any guns in his hand, but this being Alaska, if he has guns in the car, if he doesn't have a car with him, it also limits his potential access to firearms. Drew, go ahead.
There's a good chance if he's for the responding officers, there's a good chance if it's small town Alaska like that and he lives nearby, they may even know who he is.
That too.
A lot of typing in this one.
Okay. And what's your name?
Redacted.
But I like to keep the report anonymous.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. You say your first name.
I'm here.
The
I'm not
police
from
will
here,
come
so
there
I
and
don't
not
know
question
anything
you at
about
all
it.
about your identity.
Right. And the guy banging on your door is never going to know it was you.
And I get it.
That's
Like
fine.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I see the situation coming together. I could be misjudging it because like the situation could potentially be misleading, but he thinks that he's going to call the cops. The cops are going to shoo this guy away and that he's either going to get a chance to go through with his plans or make some sort of discreet exit after he's already gone. But no, what's going to happen is the police are going to knock on your door and be like, you called this in. Can I have your name and your date of birth? And we're going to go through the whole deal. So you're not getting
Especially-
out of this with anything less than probably 30 minutes of talking to a police officer.
Yeah, especially if you're the victim of a crime. I mean, it's not like they're going to show up like there is a bear outside your door and they're just going to clang some pots together and make themselves look big. So the person-
Alaska state troopers do usually carry 2 saucepans attached to their duty belt for just that reason.
I've figured.
I'm here. I'm not from here, so I don't want my name in anything really.
Okay, that's fine. You said your first name is.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you spell your last name for me?
Redacted.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And how long has he been there?
About 10 minutes.
Okay. Did you tell him to go away?
Yep, multiple times.
Okay.
He's,
Okay. And how many people are in your room?
3.
Is that him in the background?
No, that's my.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Me and my dad and my cousin are staying in this one.
Okay.
Hold on. She said it's me. He said it's me and my dad and my cousin.
Yeah.
Truth or a lie?
We'll see.
I believe there's 3 people in there, but their identities, I guess, is what I don't believe necessarily.
We'll see.
And my cousin actually paid for it, so yeah.
My cousin actually paid for it.
Oh, how useless.
Yeah, do you think we could be like pressing him as soon as possible? Because I just got woken up.
Okay. And you said your cousin paid for it. What's your cousin's name?
Thinking about it. Hold on.
Her name, I mean, his name is redacted.
Just the mere fact that you just have to think about what your cousin's name is. I mean, the dispatcher was smart to take that opportunity, like, oh, your cousin paid for it. What's your cousin's name? Because she's trying to figure out who's there because stuff's not adding up. But just the fact that you can't say Steve Smith is my cousin, like you just, you have to sit there and think about it. We're getting all kinds of lies from him. Go ahead, Drew.
I like that she asked that because, in my past narcotics career, we used to do something called run the bucket. We'd go into a seedy hotel like this. And if the management was cooperative with us, we'd kind of run the bucket and see who was from the border area of Texas or, stuff like that. So when she asked this question, like if John paid for the room, you're going to be able to go to the clerk and say, okay, if there's no disturbance going on, which room did John rent? And they'll tell him 101 or 110 or whatever.
Okay. And then who's the third person in there?
My father.
And what's his name?
Redacted.
Same last name as you?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and let a trooper know if anything changes. Go ahead and give us a call back, okay?
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to change. I don't know if he's going to or not. So, can you just send it as soon as possible?
Yeah, I'll notify a trooper.
Yeah, he keeps banging on our door, so.
Okay.
This is the part where they don't feel emotionally satisfied. The dispatcher has everything we need to dispatch the call, and they continue to tell the story. I had this multiple times just yesterday where I'm like, okay, I will take care of it. And then they just keep telling me the reason for them calling. I'm like, just wanted to let you know that this was going on. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, I just really think that this guy's a dangerous driver. And I would just sure be worried if he was doing something like, as soon as I'm off the phone with you, I will be happy to take care of it. And then they'll get down to a third time. I'm like, I'm going to let you go now. So again, there's some emotional stuff they can't resolve, even though the call is complete. Drew, go ahead.
You're on the top of my game. You're on the top of your game, my friend, because he's going to say something else that's relevant in a second that I want to get your opinion on.
Trooper.
I don't want anybody else to get waken up, and I don't want to get extra fine for loudness or whatever.
Okay. I'll let a trooper know, okay?
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
The adult.
Okay,
Hold
so
on. He said he wanted no one else woken up, but then what else did he say?
because I don't want to get any extra fines for loudness or whatever. So obviously there's a sign in the lobby or the clerk is like, look, you wake other people up, I'm going to charge you an extra $25. Or this has happened somewhere else to him in the past. Like this might be a common practice in Alaska. Who knows? But I at this point, let's review real quick, John. What do we have at this point? Like any criminal charges, any threats, any?
So far we've got a possibly public intoxication. We've got threats to break down a door, which I guess I wouldn't handle criminally if I was a police officer. If it escalates to a burglary or any kind of personal threats, if the caller's in fear for their safety, if there's use or mention of a weapon, things tend to escalate at that point. But so far, all we have is a nuisance complaint of an intoxicated person outside, which happens every single night in every single town in America.
And in the medical terms, the chief complaint. What's the chief complaint this guy has here?
For medical, I would just say it's an intoxicated person. Which
no. I'm just saying in medical terms, chief complaint.
Oh, his chief complaint would be just a disturbance or a noise complaint would be the chief complaint for the call.
He just does not want to be fined extra money because when you boil it down, that's what he just wants the guy to go away because he doesn't want other people awakened.
Yep.
So just bear that in mind because that could end up in the call.
No. I'm sure that you're bringing this entire case to me and the whole thing was just a noisy drunk that ends up going away peaceably. Have a good night, everybody.
Well, when they clang two pots together.
Male called 911 3 additional times asking for troopers to respond as Timothy Thomas was trying to break the window and access other motel rooms.
Uh-oh.
An Alaska State Trooper from Tok was dispatched to the motel.
Tim Thomas is, isn't that a celebrity?
Isn't it tens of thousands of people?
Yeah, probably.
The trooper arrived just after 3 a.m.
Alaska.
Okay, so now we have a time of day. Well, it's time at night, actually, but, it's just after 3 a.m. and it's dark. You'll see in a second.
Trooper. City with a transfer for token.
Okay, second 911 call, city with a transfer for toke.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, someone's trying to break into my room. I called earlier. Still no cop showed up. He's trying to get through my window now.
Yep. So, like I said, I would let a trooper know what's going on, okay? Has anything changed?
Yeah, he's trying to break through my window, and he told me to tell you if anything changed. And he's trying to break through my window. It's been 30 minutes.
It has not been 30 minutes, but the window of the
window. He's
of
still
the
trying to break through the
room?
window. Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll update the trooper.
Yep.
So you can never beat a dispatcher when it comes to what was the time of things, because literally everything we have has stamp time next to it. So she's taking a little personally when he's like, it's been 30 minutes. I get that he's upset that the cops aren't there. I understand Alaska a little bit because things are the way they are where I live. It could be that you've got even a serious criminal complaint. This is worrisome. If this is escalating to the point of a burglary in progress, gross damage to a building, broken glass, like that's a weapons situation, that's a bad situation. But there might not be a police officer close by. And in fact, that we're dispatching highway patrol state troopers in Alaska, it means there's no police officers on duty in Tok for us to send. There's not somebody blocks or even miles away. There may not even be a county unit that's close by. We're sending state troopers. State troopers might be going at high speed or as high as dictated by the details in the call for service. And you never know. There might be a train. There might be a moose in the way. It might just take a little bit of time for us to get there. So the dispatcher, of course, is a little frustrated because this guy's calling back 911 saying that it's been 30 minutes. His pizza is free because there's still no trooper here. So I get that a little bit.
Try that in a small town. Is there a certain level of civility in the less densely populated areas of the United States, whether it's continental United States or Alaska? I mean, it seems to me like if you watch any of these shows on National Geographic, the Alaska state troopers sometimes take 2 hours to show up to a call. They'd go by seaplane or something. And this guy's complaining because they're 30 minutes away. And yeah, I know that you're calling when you need them. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be where you need them to be within a certain amount of time. And it may not necessarily be anybody's fault. So this is why I ask, like, if you choose to live in that environment, that small town, understanding the risks, is there a certain level of self-policing or civility that takes place where you may not need as many emergency responders? You know what I'm asking you?
I know what you're saying, and I believe you're right. And I think that would apply to much of the country. In Alaska, however, it's the biggest state in the union, and I know that they have big-time hiring bonuses for state troopers. And I know it's been that way since long before 2020. They pay people to move to Alaska. Not a lot of people want to live there. It's a harsh environment. It's disconnected from the rest of the country. And getting people to be in law enforcement in one of the ruggedest and most dangerous environments in the world, you're always going to be waiting for law enforcement in Alaska. Unless you literally live in Juneau, Fairbanks, one of these bigger cities, and you have a local police department, you're going to wait. And in terms of somebody choosing to live there, we don't know if they live there or not, because I guess they're just at the little Three Bears motel, Drew. But I often have to deal with repeated callers and let them know, hey, when you called here earlier, the police officer was asleep. He had to put pants on after I was done talking to him. So that's where we're currently at in the process.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing less comforting would be like, all right, man, I'm on the way. I'll be there. You know what I mean? Like you're talking to the complainant and you're pretty much the guy that's responding.
No kidding.
Okay. Goodbye. Alaska State Troopers, where's your emergency?
911 call.
City with a transfer for Joe. Go ahead. Hi, Alaska State Troopers.
Same person. He's now kicking my room door.
Okay, has anything changed since the last time you called?
Yes, he is trying to kick my bedroom door in.
He hasn't gotten in, though.
Okay, who is?
Well, this is kind of my point. This is what I was thinking, John. I mean, this is now the third 911 call. Once he was knocking on your door. Once he was, quote, trying to get in your window. Either he's really short or he just doesn't have the will to break the glass. And then third, now he's trying to kick your door in. Is he just, I mean,
his tactics have changed. So I get that for a frustrated 911 caller, to them, it's fair to call back and to update. And in fairness, the dispatcher said if anything does change, call 911.
Yeah.
The difference is that there's a threshold for what constitutes change. We already know that this guy is irate, intoxicated, and wants to get inside your motel room. Whether or not he's, banging on the door, punching the glass, kicking in the door, we treat all these things as relatively the same. What constitutes a major change is that threshold breaking? Is the chain like all of a sudden like pulling the fitting out of the frame? Is the glass have a big crack in it? Did someone else arrive on scene? Is there another car there? Did he have a crowbar in his hand now? These all constitute big changes, but he keeps calling back because ultimately he's frustrated, Drew.
Okay. So we're at the third call.
Timothy Thomas Jr., the same person I called for last time.
Okay, I wasn't speaking to you last time. Is he actively kicking it right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, where are you?
Toke Mini Mart, the motel.
Okay, are you in the bedroom though?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, we're letting a trooper know what's going on.
Room 110, please.
Room 110.
Yes, ma'am. Gray sweater.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yes, ma'am. He is wearing a gray sweater, and he is 6 foot.
Okay. And do you know if he has any weapons on him?
Not that I know of, but I know he carries at times.
Okay.
We're in the third 911 call, and that's the first time I've heard that asked. I'm not bashing the dispatcher, but
well, that's one thing too. The situation could change. This dispatcher doesn't necessarily. She's looking at her CAD notes. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's seeing no mention or use of weapons before, but she's asking specifically. And since he was told to call back as the situation changes, he could have found a weapon. It's simple. It's as simple as picking up a rock. If we're talking about him getting through the window, so he could find an improvised weapon. The other thing that's very interesting is that when I came into this call, it was some drunk guy outside trying to get inside. We did know the name of the guy, which is changing the situation. We've got a motel in a small town where two people know each other. And now this guy knows this guy well enough to know that he carries at times. I don't know which of my friends are carrying weapons. This is definitely someone that he knows well if he knows that he carries.
Yeah.
That's just my impression from my experience, though, Drew. Go ahead.
I always fear, I like in big cities, Adam Carolla used to say this all the time. Like he would be like, they broke into my car and they stole my camera. So it's taking forever and ever and ever. And so I told my wife to call back and say, hey, I think the guy's still in the neighborhood and he took one of my guns too. And next thing you know, there's a swarm of police cars. That is the worst idea in North America, because if you stumble across somebody who's not even a suspect in that petty theft, and you think that they're armed, you have different information now, you believe that they're armed, you're going to treat them differently. And that's how things go south. So when you're
also, whether you like it or not, your camera is not as important as a gun. It's simple triage. Right. Do you think every single person that goes to the emergency room who has a really bad case of the flu should say they've been shot?
Yeah, right.
It's just triage.
It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, that'll get them here quicker. Well, yeah, it will. It'll also get people killed. And I'm a big Adam Carolla fan. I always will be. But, I think that that's a horrible thought or a horrible method of doing things, way of doing things. I mean, that opens us up to criticism for shooting the wrong person because we think the guy's armed and you knew willfully that he wasn't.
You can also open yourself up to liability of making a false police report.
Yeah,
if we were getting a lot of those and the state's attorney's office was down for it, we would hit you with that.
What does he carry?
Usually handguns.
Handguns.
Okay.
How do you know him?
Okay. We are letting a trooper know what's going on. If Timothy gets through the door or it starts breaking or anything like that, give us a call back.
Okay.
Okay. Because is Timothy actively banging on the door?
Yes, for the last 20 to 30 minutes he has been. and I called. This is my third time.
Okay. All right. Well, we're letting a trooper know what's going on, okay?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I still maintain, like, this guy's pissed and everything, and I understand that he wants cops to just vaporize because now all of a sudden he's having a problem and he's the most important problem in the world. But if Timothy has been banging on your door for 20 minutes or 30 minutes and he still hasn't successfully entered, how much of a threat is he? I mean, is he that drunk that he can't kick your door in? And if he is, then don't you have one up on him already? I understand that he may be armed and all of that, but I don't know.
Some of these motel rooms are also pretty sturdily built. The window obviously presents the biggest liability, but some of those door frames, if someone's intoxicated and it's just on alcohol and it's 3 a.m, they may not have the determination needed to get in. But let's keep after it, Drew.
Thank you. Alaska State Troopers,
4th 911 call.
where's your emergency? So, caller, go ahead.
Same guy. The guy stopped knocking on my room, but he's knocking on my next door neighbor's room now.
Okay, what neighbor?
It's straight across from 110. And he's going back and forth between 110 and the one across.
Okay. Do you know what number that is?
No, I don't. I just know there's a black truck in front of it.
Okay. All right. We have a trooper notified, and he's going to be heading that way. If anything changes, you can give us a call back, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So here's the dash cam, John. You may be asking why it's not a body cam. I think they just recently got body cams. This officer wasn't wearing it. And at the end, the captain will explain the dash cam situation.
Timothy Thomas has an extensive criminal history and is well known to Alaska State Troopers based in Tok. Thomas's actions resulted in the deployment of the Alaska State Troopers SWAT team in 2022, and he's made statements threatening troopers during trooper contacts.
Oh man, okay, that changes everything.
He is currently on supervised release for violent felony crimes, including shooting into an occupied dwelling.
Supervised release.
That just changes everything. As a 911 dispatcher, as soon as I hear that name, if I know that he had a previous SWAT call out and he's on supervised release, every town has a shitbag like this. Someone that's causing problems all the time. They're the prime mover when it comes to bad stuff happening in a small town. The problem is that the 911 dispatcher can't say this on the phone saying, oh yeah, I know that guy. We're usually calling out the SWAT team for him. So the dispatcher's hearing all these things, gathering intelligence. But the reason why it seems like the dispatcher's not terribly excited or involved is because she understands what a bad situation this is. And there's probably a lot of resources going. Go ahead, Drew.
That's the A scenario. The B scenario is that she's probably well aware who he is, puts the information in. There's a location history or a name attached to that, which you can, get the amplifying data on this guy. And then, like I said earlier, the cops in the area know exactly who that is. And they're like, oh shit, that's him. Either, it's a matter of, well, Timothy's drunk again, or, oh, that's the guy from the SWAT call out. And, we need to bring more people. Or we need to flood more people. So as you can see, the trooper pulls into behind the liquor store there. His headlights are shining right on a black truck. That's where he said that he was across from where the black truck was. So let's see where he parks. And
2 of his conditions for release were that he was not to consume alcohol and not to possess firearms.
Oh shit.
As the
oof. Okay, so look.
Trooper arrived, he observed Timothy Thomas walking with an AK-47 style rifle.
Oh shit.
The trooper
That changes a few things, does it not?
ordered Thomas to stop. However, Thomas refused multiple commands and stated to the trooper, "I'd rather not."
So the trooper says, stop. And he said, I'd rather not. And he's carrying this AK-47.
Thomas continued walking towards occupied motel rooms, as well as a position of cover.
So if he's just walking away, is there a threat? Is the question I'm posing.
Well, they've already given him one command and he's already not responded to that command. He has a weapon displayed. You could make the case that he was attempting a burglary earlier. We definitely need to stop and talk to him. I'm guessing it's part of his bond conditions. If he's not allowed to drink and possess weapons, and they already know that, they already have probable cause for arrest. He's in violation of terms and conditions of bond. So we've given him orders to stop. He's not complying with orders, and we already have PC to arrest him. So there you go.
Yep. There's a couple other things to think about.
Well, you're a police officer. I'll let you do that.
No. You'll see. Yeah. I get it.
Due to the imminent threat to life that Thomas posed to the innocent bystanders in the motel rooms and the danger that Thomas would pose to the trooper if a position of cover was achieved behind the building or a vehicle, the sole trooper on scene shot at Thomas 3 times. Thomas was declared deceased on scene.
Sweet.
All right. So what they're essentially saying is, like, he could go into the woods right there and you're never going to find him because he's got the high ground at that point. He's going to start picking troopers off left and right, whoever shows up. Right. Or if he gets behind the building, he can, find a position to cover, although he was staggering a little bit. Or even if he gets behind that car. So the trooper said, okay, you don't want to listen. You're an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to myself or other people here because you've already displayed this breach of the peace behavior. You're carrying an AK-47 against the court's order. You're obviously intoxicated and you're not reasonable because you're not listening to my commands. I'm going to end this situation right now.
Yeah.
Here's the slow-mo of it.
Good shot, though. This guy's pretty far away.
Yep. And you'll notice that it's rather quiet, and that's explained in a second too.
Wow, just really nice. Like
The trooper was unable to safely activate the.
Yeah,
he practically fell right in the trash can. I mean, not even a mess.
He fell right into the coroner's van, right into a body bag. Okay.
Video system when he exited his patrol vehicle.
So he's saying that the trooper has a dash cam. And here, let's play it again. Oh, that's not right. Shoot, I'm never going to find the right place now.
You'll find it.
There it goes. All right, here we go.
Right, the
trooper was unable to safely activate the video system when he exited his patrol vehicle due to the imminent threat presented by Thomas and the rifle he was brandishing. The trooper activated the video system as soon as he safely could. As with all officer-involved shootings, multiple investigations occurred into the shooting. The Alaska Bureau of Investigation conducted a thorough criminal investigation to determine if any Alaska criminal laws were violated when the Alaska State Trooper shot Thomas. Their investigation was sent over to the Alaska Office of Special Prosecutions, who independently determined that the trooper's use of force was lawful. Additionally, an administrative investigation occurred to determine if any DPS employees violated state or department policy during this incident. The Alaska State Troopers will continue to proactively release digital evidence in officer-involved shootings once the Alaska Office of Special Prosecutions completes their independent review and when any associated criminal court proceedings are closed.
Drew, do you mind if I kick you off? Like, I know exactly what the people in the comment sections are going to say. Are we ready to boil Drew's blood just right away?
Yeah, go for it.
Fucking cop just shot him right in the back.
like a yellow-bellied coward.
Like
shot
a
man
belly, no good. Just shot him in the back. Didn't even give him a chance.
Well, that is true. He didn't give him a chance, there's
yeah. Do we all deserve a chance to be shot at by this guy?
That's what I mean. There's no, I hear Daniel Carr saying it all the time, and I agree with it. There is no use of force that's pretty. And just because somebody is shot in the back means nothing. It meant something in the Wild West. It means nothing here because people turn away from you when they're shooting at you, or people are running from you while they're shooting, or this wasn't the case here. This guy was staggering away, but I think that the trooper had a reasonable belief that this guy was going to take a position of cover, especially if he had the special knowledge of who the guy was, what he had done in the past, because that does go into your frame of mind. He has shot at us before. He has shot into occupied dwellings before. He's holding an AK-47 out of the middle of nowhere. He's a menace to these people. He's been trying to get in their room for whatever reason. I'm here.
Tell him to stop.
Yeah, and it's not like I just showed up out of nowhere. There were 4 911 calls saying this guy is so persistent that something is happening. So yeah, I get that. Well, he just shot him in the back and blah, blah, blah. Well, is that what he did? Or did he eliminate the threat of death or great bodily harm to himself or somebody else?
For all we know, this guy could have climbed up on top of the roof of the hotel and there would be no stopping him. Not even the Secret Service would be able to get him.
I'm not even going to touch that. Even if it were slanted.
A slightly sloped roof. Now, I think it's a good shot just because the clear and present danger. He's intoxicated. He's been, on the verge of getting this burglary. But the guy inside the motel room knows him. There's some sort of beef going on. Why is he also trying to get in the room? Why did he show up? Why does he have this weapon? I mean, these are all things that we'll figure out in the investigation after the fact. But I don't know what resources that the Alaska State Troopers can quickly deploy. But if he went out there in the woods, yeah, we're going to need dogs. We're going to need drones. And this guy's still going to have a tactical advantage on us while we're unable to clear out this motel all the way through the night. We've already had a SWAT call out with him. We've already gone rounds with him as far as the SWAT stuff goes. So I get it.
And among those things, the officer subject factors come into play, because if he turns around and he shoots the officer in the head, God forbid, he's going to have the keys to the entire hotel now. He can go on a killing rampage,
and there's no reason not to after he's already killed somebody. There's nothing to lose
as well.
Point. Yeah,
right. So, yeah, I think these are somewhat unique circumstances, but the Attorney General in Alaska agreed that it was a good shooting. If you want to review any of this, by the way, you can go to the Alaska Department of Public Safety's Public Information Officer's website or webpage, and you'll see it on there. I can't remember. It's called Toke Shooting or Toke Officer Involved Shooting or something to that effect. You can click on it. In fact, the whole ruling, there's a PDF. There's a whole ruling or a whole, their whole investigation is basically on there. So you can see what their reasoning was and all the steps that they took. I think it was a great job by Alaska Department of Public Safety. And, this guy put himself in a situation like this. It's one thing to try to articulate, look, the officer knew he was armed. The officer knew he was intoxicated. The officer knew that he was completely indifferent when he asked him to stop. So how far is that indifference going to carry, when it comes to shooting the trooper, one, but two, isn't there enough room to imply that the bad guy had the same knowledge, that he knew that the trooper was there, that he knew that the trooper was armed, and the trooper asked him to stop, and he just decided to go on his merry way? And what did he think was going to happen? Did he think that even if the trooper gave chase, like foot pursuit, which would be the worst idea in the world in this situation, in my opinion, there's no means of using less lethal from that distance. What else are you going to do? The guy is a threat. He's an active threat. If that guy was walking through a supermarket like that, you would consider him a threat.
I was going to say the same thing. You take him from outside a motel and now put him in a mall.
Yeah,
we still have people who are, just instead of Pacific Sunwear, it's just room 110. What's the difference, right? Then he's in a position where he's an active shooter, and I just wish we looked at these things as like a process of forfeiture, right? Like, no one deserves to be shot unless you're out on conditions of bond that say don't drink, unless you're told not to carry a firearm, unless you're not banging on someone's door at 3 a.m., unless you're not walking around with an AK-47. I wish we could just, as a reasonable society, and don't proceed from the police shot this guy in the back. It's starting from there. Why don't we talk about why are the police there in the first place? So who's causing the problem? Well, we have 911 calls being generated by this suspect that's outside. So blame rests with him, first of all, because the police would rather just sit there eating, I don't know what they eat up in Alaska, probably bear claws if I had to guess. Yeah, just eating a raw salmon in the police car. Just ripping it apart.
Just plucked out of the river.
Just literally, just like a karate move, ripped a salmon out of the stream. They're eating it. They're full of protein and omega-3 fatty acids. They cannot be killed by conventional weapons. But anyway, as an Alaska state trooper just wants to sit there and eat this. They get pulled. They get called to drive there, probably at high speed at 3 a.m. They've got to confront this threat. And so the situation starts with the bad guy who picks up a gun and says, "I'm going to start some shit." We always need to start there. And then we can always break down what the police do or don't do after that. But I think it should be a process of forfeiture, right? We all have the right to life, liberty, and property unless there's some sort of forfeiture involved. And I believe we would define that as criminal behavior. So in my opinion, just some food for the bears to drag away. It was sort of darkly funny seeing him get dropped and he just kind of falls off the end and like, well, you kind of like dusted your hands off like we're good to go. It was just sort of funny to see. And I guess I just know enough guys like this, guys that would answer. And it reminds me of being in prison where they would walk to the end of the tier. I'm like, hey, so-and-so get back here and lock up. Well, I'd rather not. They're not going to fucking cooperate with you. They're picking a fight. Even if they're walking away, they're still picking a fight. I know this mentality very well. And you're allowed, you could pick a fight with a correction officer or with an Alaska state trooper. The gun means that it's a gunfight. So I'm okay with it, Drew.
That's what I'm saying. In the reestablishment of law and order in the United States of America, which we have lost the handle on, in my opinion, you have to compare and contrast the last 8 weeks we did Hannah-Payne, where someone who was intervening as a good Samaritan, in a sense, ended up in a very, very bad situation and ended up shooting and killing somebody. And they were all about protecting the criminal. And they were protecting, whether the guy was in a diabetic shock or whatever. They're all about protecting this guy. It's criminal behavior and criminal activity. And we started from there. And that's kind of what you were just saying a minute ago. Why can't we start from, if you are drunk and you are on a court release, ordered not to drink, ordered not to have firearms, making a scene, you're going to end up getting shot. I mean, that's just like,
carrying around the gun is the kicker, right? I think anyone should be told that if you're involved in some sort of criminal or potentially criminal behavior and you've got a gun in your hand, whether you're playing on the playground or whatever, and you've got a fake gun in your hand, you're picking up that gun. Someone's going to level the playing field by pointing a gun at you. If you do not want to get shot, do not have a gun in your hand. Does it mean it will still never happen? No, but if they see a gun in your hand, it's pretty much going to happen.
So it's the gun control debate is always like, look, lay down your arms, just like you're saying. I mean, so they're always saying that we need, more gun control and blah, 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 because the officers are just trigger happy and blah, blah, blah. No, I don't have to wait for somebody to shoot at me first. Why don't we focus on the dude carrying the gun? Let's not focus on the cop that shot the guy carrying the gun. The cop that shot the guy carrying the gun is trying to protect everybody else. I don't understand why we're first to scrutinize that and then subsequently protect or take a protective posture of the person carrying the gun. Cops make mistakes. There's no question. And I'm not saying to not be held to account or that we need like carte blanche immunity or, the qualified immunity we have is sufficient in most states. But it's if you, just like you say, John, you show up with holding a gun and the cops are there, how about you expect to be shot if you don't lay that gun down? There's no reason for you to hold that gun on the government official that has been called there, not that just showed up there to take your gun away from you, which is always the militia argument, but they were called there because you were making an ass out of yourself and you're holding this gun. You should probably expect something bad to happen if you don't lay that gun down.
If we cannot ask our audience to put themselves in the shoe of a criminal who has at least already once had SWAT called on him, I don't know how that feels. I've never had SWAT called on me. If we cannot ask the audience to put yourself in the shoes of the criminal who got shot in the back, if we cannot ask you to put yourself in the boots of the state trooper who was called at 3 a.m. to respond to this motel to see this guy walking around in a gray hoodie and AK, Put yourselves in the shoes of the 911 caller. Most of you folks have called 911. Seems like most of you have called me specifically. How would you feel if this guy's outside your motel room and he's got a gat? You'd be glad that a trooper showed up and took him out before he could take you or your dad or your mysterious cousin out. We should be glad that police officers are enforcing not only the law, but preserving public safety from clear and present danger. We got John Derringer outside walking around. And thank God that a police officer showed up and ended the threat before any of the tax-paying public was made to pay for that threat instead.
John Derringer. So let's remember too that it was said that he likely carries handguns.
Did I mean Dillinger and said Derringer?
Yeah, you said John Derringer.
So isn't John Derringer still a guy?
Is he the namesake of the gun?
Either way, it was still a very apt metaphor.
Or was it Steve Derringer? Like
Steve, I am Steve Derringer. This is my new gun.
Frank Derringer. I invented this pistol thing. Alan Derringer, maybe. So he's when the cop shows up, they were not only right about him carrying guns. He's got a freaking AK-47 that everybody freaks out. You know, I heard on a show of yours that was members only that the media loves the AR-15 and they love talking about the AR-15, but apparently, you know, when this guy's carrying an AK style weapon, he is closer to Russia, by the way. But when this guy's carrying an AK style weapon, like, man, that's pretty menacing. Like it's, you know, I don't know that there's a reason to carry an AK around a motel parking lot at 3 a.m.
Wasn't Alan Dillinger O.J. Simpson's attorney?
No, Alan Dershowitz.
Let's just end the episode, Drew. I think it's a good shot. The people that think this is a bad shot are always going to be the same people, and they're always going to be the ones in the comment section, and they're always the ones who don't work in any kind of professional job, let alone a police job. And they're always the ones saying that I have bad encounters with the police all the time and yet denying their criminal status. So we're always seeing people saying that the cops are way too over aggressive. And when you ask them, like, why are you encountering the police? No reason. I'm like, well, only your triple I knows for sure. So it's always going to be those people.
Hey, John, remind everyone to go to thecomcenter.com. I would love to see some activity on that website. And I think we probably have some voicemails.
We do have some voicemails. Thanks for reminding me as always. I appreciate that. Let me just cue those up. Let's go to Jim from Florida.
Questions, comments. Some need an answer. Some don't need an answer. When Hannah Payne got on the stand, they really glossed over the extent of her quote unquote training / tutorial. Now, I realize that the prosecution, we haven't heard that part yet, so I'm interested to see if they delve into that. But she said, you know, she starts talking about training, took a class, you know, a self-defense class, and then she really talked about a tutorial. So for me, a tutorial is somebody giving maybe a slide presentation, and a training is more of a hands-on. And I would be interested to know what frequency she got on the range to shoot. Not that it has anything to do with the outcome, but it would just be interesting. I really thought when she said, when they told her not to go out and chase this guy, she said, I understand 100%. I think that she felt empowered, that she had that in her nature anyway. She felt empowered that she was going to go take care of business because the police weren't there weren't getting there quick enough. And then if you remember, she also said, oh, I'm getting out of the car. I thought I was just being a messenger. I mean, who really thinks that way? You know, I agree with John pretty much with all his.
His voicemail will continue in part 2 here because they are truncated. But you know, it depends. Did she get a permit to carry in Georgia? So she may have had to have a certain amount of time at a range. I don't know how much that is, whether that's 4 hours or 8 hours and a full 8-hour class to get that permit. But I guess that's what my experience is. If you're going to get a permit with reciprocity amongst a large number of states, that's the kind of range time that you have to have, is at least 8 hours. I don't, how long was her permit good for? When was it issued? How much time has she been in the range before that? But let me ask you this, Jim, as a police officer too, because I understand that you are one. So how much time do you spend at the range grappling? You're reaching, someone's pulling into a vehicle and you're trying to defend yourself. Now you're trying to get out of the vehicle. You introduce this weapon, right or wrong. But how much time do you spend at the range where now your instructor is putting their hand on the frame of your weapon and you're trying to wrestle it away? It could just be that her training was for marksmanship and fundamentals of firearm operation, and possibly even legal things. They teach you that when you get your permit, but how to deal with the situation where someone's trying to grab and take your gun away from you. That we're talking law enforcement academy type stuff at that point. I don't think that they even teach citizens that at any point, unless you're like going to a really, really good range. Drew, any thoughts on that?
I think that if I remember right in the trial, that the prosecution kind of glossed over, if this were an issue, meaning she were not thoroughly trained, or believe me, the prosecution wanted to throw the kitchen sink at her anyway. So they would have debunked all of her training if they had the opportunity. So if she were unable to say, well, I've been to the range, or I've been through this tutorial / training or whatever, or that they were able to minimize what that tutorial actually was, they would have taken the opportunity to do that. And I don't think they did. So either it was not a good job on our defense attorney's part to expand on the training, or it was just it was actually sufficient enough in their minds that the state's not even going to challenge it. Like, they stipulated to the fact that she's had this training or whatever. And of course that never made it into the closing arguments.
I don't think the state even needed to impeach her credibility as a licensed firearm operator, because you heard the prosecutor at one point say, no one brought a deadly weapon into this encounter until Hannah Payne, which of course Drew and I would agree. Well, the Dodge Dakota being rammed into the side of a semi is a little bit of a deadly weapon. Also, the guy reaching into the back saying, I got something for you, bitch. We have no idea what was back there. Could have just been a tire iron. Could have also been a firearm. But the state's whole point is that this entire encounter was uncalled for, and Hannah Payne not only engaged in an uncalled for encounter, but also introduced a firearm. At that point, parsing out whether or not she was good at firearms is really immaterial, and really just seeks to further justify the existence of the firearm. If she was good at it, if she was bad at it, the only point they need to make is that she shouldn't have had one, which I guess I don't completely disagree with. Drew, should I play the second half?
Yeah, please.
Hey, John and Drew, this is Jim from Florida. Voicemail message part 2, just like you have episode 3, part 7, Karen 6. I agree with John so far on all his comments about the way she acted, the way she felt empowered. I just, I have a hard time with her justification, not the ending, of course, not her self-defense, but her justification for putting herself in that place anyway. Also, I wonder, was this case taken to the grand jury? Because it definitely, just based on what I heard so far, really raises a self-defense issue. And if, and we haven't heard yet, if this turns out, she would have a good grounds for appeal. So anyway, look forward to the remaining parts of it. It's a good case. You're doing a great job. Bye.
Well, we did tackle the end of the case, since probably you left this voicemail, which you left that for us 20 days ago. So I totally understand why we're just catching up to you now, Jim. But you heard the prosecutor say on closing arguments that you can't poke a bear and then claim self-defense, which Drew and I eviscerated, much in the style of a bear eating a salmon in the style of an Alaska State Trooper. So I believe that she has plenty of grounds for an appeal in self-defense. I think even ineffective counsel might be something that she could bring up at some point. I'm not trying to dog the lawyer. It's just he just seemed to be taking body blows from the judge and the prosecutor.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I don't think, I think this was and I likened it to the Trump trial in New York and Judge Merchan. It was the same, like, prosecution, open door. If you're the defense, you're going to have to go through the elevator, swipe a key card, turn the key, make sure that the door is unlocked, and then I'll consider whether it's coming in or not.
Anyway, I think we covered Hannah Payne pretty well. I hope if you have more questions, Jim, if you have more points, we'll be glad to field your questions. But I just hope that situation turns out differently for her, because I don't want to see her spending 43 years inside prison because some fucking asshole grabbed her by the arm and pulled her inside the truck. Last voicemail.
Hey, what's up, call center? No, I'm sorry. Comm center. Wow, it's still early. This is Anthony out in the Pacific Northwest, and I just had a little something to add to this whole Hannah Payne thing. I'm kind of on Drew's side, wherein she had a right to defend herself and everything, but for work I'm in kind of a pseudo law enforcement type position, and in that capacity, we sometimes will see crime that happens. We're on the police radio, we're on the CAD, we interact with dispatch every day. So sometimes we'll see crime, a lot of times we'll see stolen vehicles, and it's not uncommon for us to follow, not chase, those vehicles. And one thing that always goes through my mind, and I wonder if it went through Hannah's mind, was what the hell happens if this guy stops? Or he gets mad that I'm chasing him and he whips out a gun or something. I'm not armed. Now, Hannah was, but that's just something that, after listening to these podcasts, this whole series, that kind of been, on the forefront of my mind. Because I think about that, and that definitely changes how I react to those kinds of situations. One thing that maybe she could have said on 911, she probably wouldn't have thought about it, is that, we're obeying all traffic laws. That would have been something good to maybe hear in court. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but that's something that I always say over the radio, is I'm obeying all traffic laws following this stolen vehicle. And guess what? They're not. So they get away sometimes. But it is what it is. So anyway, just thought I'd give my 2 cents. Keep on going, Common Center.
Thank you. And thank you for calling us call center. You're not the only one who's ever referred to us as that. Drew, I'll let you take first swing at that one.
Anthony, that was an outstanding call. I appreciate you calling. And I agree with everything you're saying. I think that she could have, we're in a litigious world, so she could have saved herself through articulation in a few instances. I don't think she was thinking as clearly as you were, or as you do. But I appreciate you calling. I appreciate the input that it's validating to know that we did something that made somebody think, and I appreciate that.
I thought it was a very good point. Drew and you and I went back and forth, particularly in episodes 1 and 2, about whether or not we want to empower citizens to intervene, to take keys away, to stop drunk drivers, whether or not I, as a dispatcher, get frustrated by people following. We instruct people not to follow. There's a compromise somewhere that every person has to make for themselves. But I believe Anthony was saying it, like, why don't we follow as long as it's safe to do so, bearing in mind they might get away. They're not going to abide by the laws. They're going to speed. They're going to merge. They're going to do dangerous things. I'm not going to do those things. I'm not going to borrow a Drewism. I'm not going to create an exigency for myself. If they get away, they get away. But at least I can let the police know their last known direction of travel, speed, and the license plate, which was such a key part of it. So, yeah, I think that there was a common sense compromise there where Hannah should have maybe given up or something, like after she got that license plate. And she never did think to herself, what will happen if this shit does hit the fan? I did speculate early on that people who carry firearms often don't know how the situation which call for their firearms will play out, and how oftentimes those situations aren't worth drawing their firearms over. Like how, you just shouldn't walk up to within reach of somebody. But I'll always maintain that as soon as Kenneth Herring reached out of the car, it was all his fault. If you have a voicemail, we love them. Leave voicemails just like that. Good voicemails. I'll be reaching out to the people who left voicemails in July and August and seeing if you want some Comm Center swag. 848-COM-911 is the way to do that. Folks, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Also, become a member if you want to see this material next Thursday at our regular time. We encourage you to become a member. and just get access to our Monday morning shows and some other stuff that we've got coming down the pike. As soon as I can get Netflix to maybe ease up off my case a little bit, we're going to have some extra bonus stuff on Rumble. You can find us there too. Apple Podcasts, Let Go of the Wheel. Do not care about laws and do not be safe. Just let go of the wheel. Hit subscribe, hit a rating, leave a full rating, leave a review, whatever, to do the whole thing. Same thing on Spotify. We appreciate you listening. Make sure your automatic downloads are on Spotify. You would hate to be in a situation where you don't have Wi-Fi and you want to listen to the Wolverine purr of Drew's voice. Make sure you have automatic downloads all the time. Also, it helps us business-wise. Reach out to us on Instagram at the Comm Center or What Say Drew. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, if you want to be there. Facebook, still there at the Comm Center. Still banned, as always, from TikTok. That is our lot in life. Drew, anything else before we go?
No, we're going to need to check that Facebook at. I think it's at the Comm Center 911, but we'll check it. But either way, if you look, because we have a page and we have a group, it doesn't matter if you belong to either one. Like, we love the interaction. Who cares? The only thing I'll say is this: look, we're doing everything we can to step things up. We want to make sure that we bring the freshest content to you, the best, most genuine, expert-laden takes, and we don't want to waste anybody's time, and we want to entertain and educate and do all of that other stuff. But it takes a village to do that. It takes all of you sharing our information. We love that you love us, and we love that you love that we love us. So we're going to continue to do what we're doing. We're growing and we're expanding just as a matter of just to fuel you. And you're fueling us, if that makes sense. So a lot of mutual admiration. We appreciate all of the likes and the shares. If you can like and share a little bit more, we'd be even more appreciative. And you can always become a member on YouTube. It's not necessary to get the free content of the audio podcast, but if you want the full Monty, the full sandwich, as John, the full salmon sandwich will come to the members. And then you can just get the salmon on Tuesday, the following Tuesday.
Very well said. Confusingly said. Folks, I take a shower for this podcast. It's the only one I do. Join us up next for the after show. Thanks for everybody for watching and listening. Drew, this conversation's grown oddly tiresome.
Very.